If I don't get any likes, so be it.
Well, I like you.
Hold on. Rich and famous? Oh, meant to be.
But Kenji, you were right. If I was really in love with Brooklyn, I should have been there.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel where I talk about anything and everything that comes to mind during long drives, hence the name Car Thoughts. This is my second Camp Cretaceous video, so be sure to check out my first one about Yasami. This video will be a little different than my previous one. Well, in my first essay, I praised the show, as it rightfully deserves. This time, I'll be critiquing and analyzing it a lot more. I am still deeply in love with the series, both Chaos Theory and Camp Cretaceous. But with Chaos Theory's fourth and probably final season coming November 20th, I figured now was as good a time as any to talk about one of the most infamous and controversial parts of the show, the love triangle. I want to make it very clear from the beginning. You are free to ship whoever you want in any show, and I have no problem with people shipping different characters than I do. This isn't an attack on personal ships, for I think shipping is usually quite fun and harmless. I am more so targeting the ship itself rather than individual shippers. And while I personally ship Kenlynn and will always ship Kenlynn, aka Kenji and Brooklyn, I can certainly see the appeal of Dinostar, Darius and Brooklyn, aka Darlin. For the sake of this video, we'll be calling them Kenlynn and Dinostar respectively. I want to be as unbiased as possible in explaining what I think the show has set up, and how it should end based on already established character dynamics, arcs, and relationships. So with that out of the way, this video will be about why I believe the show has to end with Kenji and Brooklyn being endgame, and why anything else would betray not only the fans, but the characters and the storyline as a whole. I'll also discuss how I think Kenlynn is the only option for all the characters, including Darius, to achieve their happy endings. So I'm not being hateful, I'm just being logical. But forgive me if I come across a little heated. I know it's just a show, but it means a lot to me, and I'd love to see it stick to landing. So often am I let down by my favorite shows, but I'm confident Chaos Theory will not disappoint. And today, I'll give you the facts, mixed with my own interpretations that I believe the writers made quite clear. However, I welcome all viewpoints and would love to engage in a polite conversation with Dinostar fans. Just please make sure not to blindly spam hate without valid arguments. If you think I'm wrong or have another interpretation you'd like to discuss, great. I'd love to chat with people who think differently than I do. Just remember to be kind and civil about it. Now, a bit of history between the ships. First off, we'll be discussing Camp Cretaceous and Chaos Theory, both canon shows within the Jurassic Park franchise. The first show, Camp Cretaceous, runs parallel to the first Jurassic World film, while Chaos Theory, the sequel series, takes place after Fallen Kingdom and with the current season aligning with the Defensive Dominion. I won't be going into too much details about the plot of the shows, but just know that both of these series are downright amazing and add so much needed context to the films. They are well worth your time, and I'm warning you, you'll emerge entirely invested in the characters and deeply craving more. Now, when I first watched Camp Cretaceous, I honestly believed Darius, our main character, and Brooklyn, arguably the main female character, would end up together. That's how this normally goes, right? I could smell it a mile away, but then the show subverted all expectations entirely. It paired Kenji and Brooklyn together. I must admit I was surprised, but I managed to fall in love with the chosen pairing. I know this is quite controversial, with most people still favoring Dinostar even after Kenlynn became canon. How had a show that had very clearly set up one ship decide to go in a completely different direction? Which is my argument. Darius and Brooklyn were never intended to be a couple. As stated, it is quite common for the main male and female characters to end up together, and I actually really admired Camp Cretaceous for flipping the script and letting them just be friends. The main male and female characters being besties instead of lovers? Sign me up! This isn't to say that I don't see where the ship came from. Even I thought they'd be endgame for crying out loud. It is very valid to still ship Dinostar, even after they weren't canon. It made sense, and would have made more sense than Kenji and Brooklyn initially did. But Kenji and Brooklyn, Kenlynn, is something I never knew I needed until it happened. They complement each other perfectly, both stuck up and cocky at first, never having real friends before because of their fame and fortune, rich and famous, blue and pink. Paired with how awkward they became around each other, and then how adorable they became once getting together, this ship is a goldmine for shippers. So why did it never become that popular, despite being quote-unquote meant to be? Now, this is where the problem arises. In Chaos Theory, Kenji and Brooklyn break up, and it is revealed at the end of season 1 that Darius in fact had a crush on Brooklyn, although it was recent and not during the events of Camp Cretaceous. This, paired with the reveal that Brooklyn was in fact alive and not dead, as the campers thought, re-sparked hope for Dinostar to finally become canon within the, be it small, fandom. Chaos Theory was just fixing the mistakes that Camp Cretaceous made in making Kenlynn canon instead of Dinostar, right? This was the writer's way of quote-unquote fixing it, and doing what should have happened in the first place, right? Right? What other reason would there be to have Kenlynn break up and make Darius confess his love to her? I say wrong. In fact, I say very wrong. The purpose of the love triangle is not to right a wrong, it is to solidify the decision in making Kenlynn canon, which is what I will argue in this video. Well, I said before I don't want to be cruel or hostile to Dinostar shippers, and I can empathize with them. I greatly believe that if Dinostar becomes canon, it would ruin the entire show for me. And I'm not speaking just as a Kenlynn shipper here. I'm speaking as someone who has watched the show from start to end and firmly believes pairing Darius and B up now would undo everything the show has set up for Darius, Brooklyn, and Kenji's characters. I'm doing this for our beloved Dino Nerd as well as Kenlynn. Brooklyn is not Darius's ending, just as Darius is not her ending. Let me explain. To reiterate, Darius did not have a crush on Brooklyn in Camp Cretaceous, and she never liked him back either. Kenji realizes he likes B at the end of season 3, when he risks everything to save her from being kidnapped. The other campers wanted to upload data to a flash drive, and then trade the laptop for Brooklyn. Unable to wait, Kenji went behind everyone's backs and took the laptop, going by himself to get Brooklyn back with the trade. He didn't want to waste time, terrified of what Dr. Wu, the man behind the very creation of the dinosaurs in the first place, would do to B if he hesitated, so he didn't. Yes, this was brash and reckless, but Kenji has always acted on his emotions, whether it be anger, self-doubt, or even love. This is where Kenji fall in love with Brooklyn, and throughout season 4, we see him grappling with his newfound feelings toward her. Now, it's important to note that Kenji before this was a bit of a jerk. He was cocky and wimpy, hiding behind others and outright lying to impress them all, being somewhat of a player and flirting with Brooklyn. I believe that when some people see Kenlynn, they see Kenji as the person he was in season 1 of the show, bluntly an asshole. But throughout the show, Kenji gets character development. In fact, he gets peak character development, if I do say so myself. He learns to be part of a team, having to band together with the others to survive. He becomes more humble, especially after he falls for Brooklyn. He saves her and the others multiple times. He learns that he can bring more to the table than just his riches, and that his new friends will value him more for his loyalty and bravery than his absent father ever could. And by season 4, Brooklyn only falls for Kenji once he's proven he's changed. A lot of people say Kenlynn came out of nowhere, and while I don't believe it was planned from the start, I believe people only say it came out of nowhere because they were conditioned to expect the main characters to end up together, and Kenji was an unlikely, if not unthinkable candidate. But in hindsight, it makes so much sense. There's so much scenes of Kenji and Brooklyn together in the first few seasons. If not falling for each other, at least bonding with each other. Like when Kenji stays behind with Brooklyn after she accidentally insults Darius' dead father. He's there for her, just like she's there for him when Kenji is scared that Sammy might die in my favorite episode, The Long Run. B takes the high road and comforts him, using her first aid skills and sparking Kenji to question his own worth within the team. She's amazing, but what is he? This directly leads him to saving her at the end of the season. He won't let her become like Sammy almost did, and this time he's taken a stand. Keep in mind this scene of Kenji running to Brooklyn. There's a parallel later, and boy do I love me some parallels. This isn't to say that Darius didn't care for Brooklyn. He did, a lot, but once again, he put logic before his emotions. He had a plan to save Brooklyn, but it would have taken more time they might not have had. And this is a lesson Darius ultimately learns in season 4, to put his friends above the dinosaurs to get them home. While Kenji was certainly out of line for being upset with Darius after Brooklyn's kidnapping, it did spark Darius' character arc in acting more on his emotions. Yes, Kenji was bringing a jerk here yet again, and he often snaps at Darius or the other members of the group. I'm not here to say that's 100% okay, but like Darius learns from this, so does Kenji. Just like Brooklyn, he learns to be more humble, and he was acting out in his own words because he just figured out he liked her. Kenji and Brooklyn are there for each other even early on, whether riding bikes in the CKK, Cool Kids Kayak, or the first episode when a cocky Kenji flirts with B. Rich and famous, meant to be. Now, of course, D and B have numerous scenes together early on, but I firmly believe their friendship is the core of the show. Why does every interaction have to be romantic? Darius thinks on logic, not emotions. Brooklyn initially is led by her desire to be liked. She even says this to Darius in episode 3. She believes the only way she can achieve that internal validation is through her online fans and videos. And then in season 4, when Brooklyn admits finally that she doesn't need online likes to feel that validation anymore, Kenji confesses to her. For the first time, she sees that someone likes her for something other than her online presence. He likes her for her, just being her, and it visibly shocks her. This has never happened before. It's hard to pinpoint exactly when Brooklyn falls for Kenji, which is a valid criticism of the show and Kenlynn. Was it only after Kenji confessed to her, or was it developing all throughout season 4? A lot of people dislike season 4 of Camp Cretaceous, but it's one of my personal favorites for many reasons. In fact, it's my favorite season of Camp Cretaceous, with Chaos Theory season 1 being a close second within the entire franchise. And I firmly believe Kenji and Brooklyn were done very well in season 4, with the exception of wishing to see more of Brooklyn's side have fallen for Kenji in return. Both Kenji and Brooklyn talk with Yaz about their feelings, admitting they like each other and that they want to be together, but are afraid. Brooklyn even questions if Kenji, the cocky guy from season 1, is really worth falling in love with. But he's changed. They all have changed. Still, they question if they are even worthy of having that love. Does the other like them back? Classic questions for teens to ask. As I said before, I believe Brooklyn fell for Kenji because he changed, but Kenji did not change for Brooklyn necessarily. He changed because of her, and because of everyone else around him. Finally, a positive influence to motivate him to be a better person. Kenji learned to be a good friend, and then and only then did Brooklyn fall for him. And he liked her for her, not just her fame. This highlights their character arcs. In season 1, Kenji liked B only after learning she had millions of followers. In season 4, that stuff doesn't matter to him anymore, nor does it matter to her. He likes her for her, and he learns he doesn't need his riches to make them all like him in turn. What does he bring to the team? His loyalty, his humor, his passion, which he learns in season 3 and cost it to Kenji in the long run. While I loved the line, rich and famous meant to be, it shows who the characters were before, and how well they were developed from that first meeting. Yes, they are meant to be, but now it's for less superficial reasons. Kenlynn gets together by the end of season 4, much to the support of all their friends, especially Darius. I want to highlight how supportive Darius is for his friends here. There is no jealousy, no hint that he wanted something more out of his friendship with Brooklyn. That never crossed his mind, and judging by how shocked he was that Kenlynn became canon, he didn't think romance was on any of their minds, highlighting how young Darius truly was. I love how Yaz acts as their wingman, and how excited Sammy is for them, and how clueless Ben is. Everyone will be the same level of supportive for Sammy next season, with Brooklyn being their biggest shipper. Long story short, they're all there for each other, whether it be supporting each other's crushes and relationships, or fighting together to survive. They all bring something to this team, as they all learn throughout the series. Everyone gets character development, not just Brooklyn and Kenji. Bouncing off of that, one can argue that Darius was 12-13 and didn't have romantic feelings for anyone yet, which is once again valid. Even disregarding the dinosaur-infested island they're stuck on occupying their minds, these kids are young, Kenji being 15 and B 13. They're figuring out life and their feelings for each other, as I discussed in depth with Yaz and Sammy in my other video essay. It's messy and feelings can change, especially as they grow up, but Kenji and Brooklyn still loved each other until the end of Camp Cretaceous and even into Chaos Theory. I'm not going to talk about the age gap between Kenji and Brooklyn because it's such a non-issue. People like to point it out when dissing Kenlynn, but 15 and 13 and later 16 and 14 is a normal age difference for teen romances. It is not even a gap, so we're just going to leave it at that. Now, onto the final season of Camp Cretaceous. In season 5, Kenji betrayed the camp fan to join his father on his quest to make dinosaurs fight for entertainment. He abandoned Brooklyn and the others to do so, firmly believing his father had their best interests at heart. A lot of people also point to here as to why Kenji isn't the right fit for Brooklyn. But in my opinion, Season 5 is peak because of Kenji's character arc. As stated, he was 15-16 here. He always wanted his father's approval all throughout the show and thought that if he stuck with his father, he could make him and his friends proud. He did it for them because he thought his father was doing the right thing to keep them all safe and honor their family, something Kenji had always wanted, his father to love and respect him. That validation he always craved was perhaps something he could finally earn, something he failed to realize he had found in his friends, his found family, until he was forced to confront the cruel man his father truly was. Throughout the season, Kenji sees firsthand that his father is a terrible person and doesn't care about Kenji. I could make an entire video about why I love Kenji's arc so much, but long story short, he rejoins the camp fam and has to make it up to them and prove he's on their side. This is very important, and I'll bring it up again later, but Kenji does prove it. He saves Brooklyn and Darius, and he takes part in the plan to drive his father from the island. B and K tag team and show how well they work together. And by the end, he proudly claims to his father's face that he's staying with his friends, his real family. He says this to the man he just wanted to love him, the only family he had left, the man who manipulated him, fed on his insecurities. But this isn't to take away all of Kenji's agency. He made an active choice to side with his father and abandon his friends. It's valid to dislike him for that. However, he also made an active choice to return to them and apologize with words and with actions. He admitted his wrongs and fought hard to regain their trust. This doesn't erase what he did, but it does show Kenji's true character. It also shows the others' characters that they ultimately forgave him, but only after he helped them fend off his dad. And then Brooklyn and Kenji kiss, finally on the same side and finally openly together and in love. Brooklyn forgave Kenji because he proved himself with his actions, not just his words. And she didn't forgive him right off the bat. She was hurt a lot by what he did, and he knew that. And then after all of this, in the epilogue, we see them happily together and dating. Finally, a family they both can be proud of, and of themselves. And that brings us to Chaos Theory. By the time they break up, Kenji and Brooklyn have been dating for 6 or 7 years. That is a long time to be in a committed relationship. When the new series opens, we learn that Brooklyn is dead, with the mystery slowly revealed throughout the season. Kenji and Brooklyn break up because Brooklyn got herself involved in a dangerous plot with some mysterious criminal, the broker, who sold dinosaurs, and she wanted to hunt them down and put a stop to it, just like she did in Camp Cretaceous, always getting involved and in dangerous situations with the intent to do good. She did this in Season 1, Episode 2 in Dr. Wu's lab, that time wanting to please her followers. And in Chaos Theory, she also wanted to uncover a scheme. This is Brooklyn. This is her character and who she is. And, like in the beginning of Camp Cretaceous, she didn't tell the others about what she was doing. She was absent for long periods of time, not being present, like during the Zoom call with her friends. She was late to dates and had a hidden apartment and contacts within the DPW, Department of Prehistoric Wildlife. She was doing it all for good and didn't want her friends to get involved for fear of getting them hurt. She was willing to carry that burden alone if it meant that they didn't have to. But because she didn't communicate, Kenji thought she didn't love him anymore. Oh, the irony. He thought she didn't want to be with him and was missing dates on purpose. But in reality, she was late to a date because she was talking with Kenji's father, now in house arrest, to find out more information to stop the broker, the criminal behind the dino smuggling. Classic doing the wrong thing for the right reasons. And she didn't want Kenji to get involved again with his father. We see the breakup from multiple perspectives, from Darius's to Kenji's and to Brooklyn's. First, we learn about the breakup from Darius in Episode 4. He asked Kenji where he was the night Brooklyn died, and is the first to reveal that Kenji dumped Brooklyn. Soon after, we see a flashback to Kenji's perspective. As stated, he broke up with Brooklyn because she was so distant, saying, "I can't be with you if you're not going to be with me," essentially giving her a choice, an ultimatum. We don't see what happens immediately after this, but the two break up, because Kenji wanted Brooklyn to be more present with him, and Brooklyn was keeping secrets with the intention to help her friends and him, but by keeping them in the dark. And instead of telling Kenji the truth, she let the breakup happen. Too deep in her work to give up now, the breakup was a consequence of her actions, but she and Darius blamed it on Kenji. This isn't to say that Brooklyn had to choose Kenji over her work, nor that she had to stop work. That wasn't the issue. The issue was the lack of communication. Brooklyn goes to stay with Darius, and we learn later that Darius admits to Brooklyn that he likes her here, a crush that developed after the breakup. This is important because of one small detail. Darius and Kenji are brothers. Kenji gets adopted by Darius' family at the end of Camp Cretaceous, and the two literally say they're brothers out loud. The episode with the flashback is literally called Brothers. Darius and Kenji's brotherly relationship is one of my favorite aspects of both shows, and possibly I wouldn't be so against Dinostar if Darius and Kenji weren't literally adopted siblings. I'll talk more about that later, but please remember this very key factor. This isn't just some random love triangle this show threw together. It contains a set of siblings. Let that sink in. Anyways, Darius hears about the breakup from Brooklyn's side first, where Brooklyn says she was a little distracted with work, and that Kenji didn't understand how important it all was to her. This is in a direct contrast to what we saw in the flashback. Classic show don't tell. Brooklyn wasn't just a little distracted, she was completely distracted, putting her work above Kenji time and time again. And when they broke up, she still didn't tell him what she was really doing. Whether in deep denial or genuinely believing Kenji to be in the wrong, Brooklyn did not want to tell Darius the truth, and he believed her. During the breakup, Brooklyn was texting and didn't see the beautiful view Kenji wanted to show her. However, she was texting his father, telling him to stay away from her and Kenji. Once again, she was doing it for him, but she didn't tell him it was for him, leaving Kenji to make his own assumptions without Brooklyn correcting him. This is both on Kenji for assuming and on Brooklyn for letting him assume. They both messed up in their relationship, and it all could have been prevented with, once again, communication. One can argue that Brooklyn fell out of love with Kenji, and that, as I said, she's always been like this. Sneaking around, getting into trouble, and putting her work first. Why couldn't Kenji just accept her for who she was? However, as Kenji got character development in season 4 and 5 of Camp Cretaceous, so did Brooklyn. She learned to be more humble too, and that she didn't need dangerous adventures, sponsors, or even to be famous to have friends or followers. She didn't even want to be on camera anymore in season 5. Once a superstar on the internet, Brooklyn finally found real friends for the first time and learned that friendship was more important than fame and random people liking her on the internet. That human connection and validation was enough for her. And that Brooklyn, the person she grew into throughout Camp Cretaceous, was the one that Kenji fell in love with. And Kenji also found friends for the first time, and having those friends, being a part of the Nublar Six, changed them both for the better. So maybe getting stranded on a dinosaur-infested island was a good thing? I mean, they all got a family out of it, not to mention Sammy. Anyway, saying that this is just who Brooklyn is and that Kenji just couldn't accept her for it is not only bluntly untrue, but insulting to Kenji and Brooklyn individually. I am not fully taking sides in the breakup, for as I said, both Kenji and Brooklyn messed up in their relationship. Kenji for not understanding Brooklyn's side, but how could he? Brooklyn didn't tell him, and when she talks to Darius, Dee says, if he loved you half as much as I did, without even knowing Kenji's side of the story, and B just lets him. Darius admits he likes Brooklyn, and she says she isn't ready. She gets flustered and instantly pulls back. Darius backtracks at once and runs off, embarrassed. When Brooklyn's DPW contact pulls through, Brooklyn wants Darius to be there with her to show him what she's been working on. Perhaps she learned from Kenji and is finally able to show her friends the evidence, proving herself that she was really doing something important. It has to amount to something, or else what was the breakup for, right? She has to prove she was doing it for them, so she wants Darius to be there to see the dino smuggling with his own eyes. She wants him to understand her. Like, in her mind, Kenji never could, but Darius is too embarrassed from being rejected, so he doesn't show up, and when he finally gets there, Brooklyn is dead, or at least they think she is. This is the main premise of Chaos Theory, Brooklyn's death, and the character's healing and coping, most notably, Darius' grief and guilt for feeling like he failed Brooklyn and let her die. I love season 1 of Chaos Theory so much because of the way we see everyone grieve, and the pieces of the puzzle are slowly revealed throughout the show. We learn about the Kenlynn breakup in episode 4, Brothers. And we learn that Darius liked Brooklyn toward the end of the season. He admits it to Kenji, and that's why he wasn't there. The season-long mystery. What happened that night? And why did Darius break his promise to Brooklyn? He was simply embarrassed. An innocent reason. A teenager in love but too shy to face his crush after being rejected. It's downright tragic. We and Kenji were expecting some grand reveal as to why Darius didn't show up, but it was as simple as that. And as Darius asked Kenji why he wasn't there for his girlfriend, Kenji asked Darius why he wasn't there if he really loved Brooklyn. Why weren't you there is constantly plaguing both of them, hovering over both of their heads, foils to each other, brothers tragically in love with the same girl. But this dynamic question also hangs over Brooklyn. Why wasn't she there? Why wasn't she present in not only her relationship with her boyfriend, but also within the Nublar Six as a whole, as shown in their Zoom call? Why wasn't she there for her friends? What does she really want? And is it worth sacrificing the people around her to get it? Just like Kenji in Season 5. There it is, folks, the parallel. And by the end of Season 1 of Chaos Theory, still thinking Brooklyn to be dead, Darius says this: "If I was really in love with Brooklyn, I should have been there." The entire plot of Chaos Theory Season 1 is Darius and Kenji, brothers, reconciling. Kenji blamed Darius for Brooklyn's death, and Darius, hearing only Brooklyn's side, resented Kenji for breaking up with her, the girl he loved. He was mad at his brother for the way he supposedly treated Brooklyn, his own crush, so he took it out on him. And Kenji was mad at himself for not being there for Brooklyn, and he took it out on Darius, his brother. By the end of the season, Darius outright tells Kenji he truly didn't have feelings for Brooklyn, perhaps finally understanding Kenji's side, saying, and I quote, "If I was really in love with Brooklyn." And Kenji understands Darius and realizes he wasn't there because he felt guilty. He didn't intend Brooklyn's death. None of them did. As Ben tells them all, Brooklyn was set up. They were all targeted. If they were there, they would have been dead too. And Kenji is happy to at least still have his brother, someone he lost after Brooklyn's death due to both their grief getting in the way. And that is enough. And they reconnect. Going back to Darius's hideous quote, "If he loved you half as much as I did." Throughout Season 1, Darius sees just how much Kenji loved Brooklyn in ways he never could. Once again, Darius acts on logic, Kenji emotion. That hasn't changed. While Darius loved Brooklyn for her dedication to her work, Kenji loved her for everything else. They directly parallel each other, and this is a lesson Darius must learn. He was wrong. Kenji did love Brooklyn, quite possibly more than Darius ever could, as shown through the way his grief is shown. This is all intentional. And here's an example of that. When Darius and Kenji find Brooklyn's secret apartment, Darius first goes to investigate the computer and find out what Brooklyn was hiding there. Kenji touches Brooklyn's motorcycle helmet, touches her shoes, her table collecting dust. If he loved you half as much as I did my ass. This one scene communicates so much without words. Darius instantly goes into investigation mode, while Kenji goes into boyfriend mode. He recognized Brooklyn's helmet, one he wears later. He talks about her shoes while Darius is on the computer. If this single silent scene isn't enough to convince us of Kenlynn Endgame, then I don't know what will be. Little side note, I really wish Kenji looked in the trash can here and saw the picture that Brooklyn threw out in Season 2. Anyway, I firmly believe that Darius never truly loved Brooklyn, and he admits this at the end of Season 1. If I was really in love with Brooklyn, I should have been there. And he sees Kenji's side of the breakup, not just what Brooklyn told him, but the truth, and how much Kenji cared, and how much the breakup and death meant to him, how much he grieved. And Darius grieved too, felt guilty, blamed himself, but he grieved in a different way. He grieved the loss of his friend, of what could have been, while Kenji grieved what was. And Darius is then finally able to let go of not just his crush, but the guilt. And his reward is his family back, his brother back, and accepting that he cannot change what happened. And instead thinking about what could have been, he's now thinking about what is and what he can do about it from here. No more running, no more hiding. That is how Season 1 ends. Until Season 2, when Brooklyn is revealed to be alive. Throughout the season, Kenji grieves the death of his father, who died to save them last season. Despite his hatred for his dad, Kenji is deeply saddened and affected by his death, especially his father's words, how Kenji liked to do things, quote, the easy way, something that has haunted him ever since Camp Cretaceous. Even in death, his father's words would always follow him, just like B haunted him. Why weren't you there? Darius and Yaz try to talk to Kenji, but he won't open up, constantly putting himself in even more dangerous situations to show the ghost of his father that he's not going to do it the easy way anymore. Meanwhile, we get to see Brooklyn's side of the story, pretending to be dead to get more information, sneaking around undercover. And most importantly, she lost part of her arm from the attack that the Nublar 6 thought she died from. Dee's story is nothing short of incredible, with her learning to live with half a limb, and falling deeper and deeper into a dark path with the broker, whom she tracks down. I want to shout out an amazing video essay that I will put on screen about Brooklyn's disability and how impactful her storyline is. I'll also link it below. I'm not going to talk too much about Brooklyn's limb difference here, but it's such an important part of her identity, and I believe this video essay really highlights why. Please check it out. Camp Cretaceous and Chaos Theory have such amazing representation all around, and I absolutely adore what Chaos Theory did with Brooklyn. She's badass, and she's broken, and hurting in ways that others never could. Yet still, she presses on, not despite her disability, but with it, and that is so powerful. Anyway, the broker put a hit on Brooklyn and the others for digging too deep into her business. Brooklyn realizes the only way to truly stop the broker is to join her and gain information from the inside. A spy. She constantly tells herself she's doing this all for her friends. She even burns a photo of them to sever all ties from them, and trick the broker that she blames her friends for not being there for her when she needed them most, having lost her arm because of it. She gets on the inside, falling into a dark world, and getting in too deep, all with the pretense of doing it, quote, for them, even if she's hurting them by pretending to be dead. She convinces herself it'll all work out. They'll forgive her once they see what she was doing, which I believe still stems from the breakup with Kenji. It had to all be worth something. Losing her boyfriend, losing her arm, it can't have all been for nothing. So she digs herself deeper with the intent to prove herself to them. This is her way of saying sorry. If she backs out now, why did it all happen, and was it all for nothing? She can't fail. She won't let herself fail, so she presses on, alone, no matter how dangerous the underground dino smuggling web may be. The others find out Brooklyn is alive when they see her working with the broker at the end of the season. Brooklyn goes with the broker to get deeper into the web of criminals, connecting to Biosyn, the company that Kenji's dad worked with in Season 5. When Brooklyn attempts to leave with the broker, after working from the inside to save her friends in the lab, Kenji is the first one to reach her to try and stop her. From his perspective, she's working with the broker, the enemy, as she just took Bumpy's egg and is about to get on a plane with her. But Kenji still runs after her and grabs her hand. He is the first one to face her, to hold her back, which I believe is 1000% intentional. This is screenwriting 101 here. Everything is written with an intent, going all the way back to the ending of Season 1 when Darius said, if I really was in love with Brooklyn, I should have been there. And who is the first one there? Not Darius, no one else, but Kenji. Just like he ran to her in Season 3 of Camp Cretaceous. Kenji wants Brooklyn to explain herself, giving her another chance, one last chance that she didn't take during the breakup. But now it's her choice. He wants her to come back with him. Despite everything, she's alive, and he wants her to be with them all again. He puts all feelings of betrayal aside just to look at her. He's giving her a second chance. But what does she want? What will Brooklyn say? So he just holds her and he waits. Just look how beautiful this scene is. I could gush about it for hours. And then the others come. Darius is there, because this time he showed up. Darius is making up for his mistakes of not being there for Brooklyn that night. All of the Nublar 6 are there, showing Brooklyn support. Despite everything, despite how much she hurt them, she's alive, and that is what matters most in that moment. To all of them, they are all supporting her, with Kenji in the lead. And I love this scene so much, because we know more than the characters know. Brooklyn wants to be with her friends. She wanted to be with them in the flashback where she lost her arm. She wanted to go see them at her funeral, but someone broke into the house, forcing her, in her mind, to go back on her path of hiding to protect them. All of Season 2, she protects them from the inside, even if she's hurting them thinking she's dead. The ends justify the means, right? Or she's just in too deep and can't get out. Kenji is offering her a way out here, despite everything. All they're done to hurt each other. He wants her to come back with him. To all of them. He's putting everything else aside in that moment. All that matters is her and her choice. She just has to take it. But what we know, and what Kenji and the others don't know, is that the broker has a way to attack them all with her raptors from the plane simply by pressing a button. And she's watching them, waiting to strike from afar. If Brooklyn goes with Kenji, the broker will kill them all with her raptors. If she goes with the broker, she will save her friends, but break their hearts. So, in order to literally save their lives, Brooklyn breaks away from Kenji and proclaims loudly she's not the same Brooklyn they knew in order to keep her cover with the broker watching. Now, Kenji and the others see this as her choosing to join the person who literally tried to kill them all, not knowing the true intention behind her decision. And as Brooklyn's back is turned, we can see how heartbroken she truly is. Just like the breakup, there is a communication barrier. With the intention to do good, she is causing them harm. But it's to literally save their lives this time. She has no other choice with the broker watching. This time, she's actually doing it, quote, for them. And it's so poetic and tragic. Just look at Kenji's face here. It's easy to forget that the characters don't know everything the audience knows, a literary device called dramatic irony. We have to look at the scene within the context of the narrative, and when we do, it's utterly heartbreaking. Brooklyn gives them back Bumpy's egg and leaves, leaving everyone and us on a cliffhanger. Where is Brooklyn going, and why did she betray them? This creates a very interesting dynamic for season 3, where Kenji and Sammy, not knowing what we, the audience, knows, blame Brooklyn and think she betrayed them for the enemy. Ben, who was in secret contact with Brooklyn throughout season 2, knows that she's doing this to help them, but can't convince Kenji and Sammy. Yaz is also on Brooklyn's side, perhaps relating to her with her PTSD journey, which I'd love to see them talk more about later on, as Brooklyn helped Yaz previously. Darius is stuck in the middle of it all. He is, of course, happy Brooklyn is alive, but doesn't know whose side she's on. He wants to go with her and to see her good intentions, but he doesn't want to lose Kenji again. He's in the middle of their broken relationship, and now he is being forced to pick a side. But this time, he knows Kenji's side. Should he stay and help his broken brother heal, or go after his long-lost friend who has returned from the dead and is supposedly working with the bad guy? In the middle of season 3, the group splits up, with Yaz, Ben, and Darius going after Brooklyn to try and help her, and Kenji and Sammy staying behind. A lot of people see this as evidence of Dinostar becoming canon. Like the ending of season 2 when Kenji went after Brooklyn, now Darius is going after her. He believes in B, and he's going to go there to get her because he really loves her, just like he said at the end of season 1. It's not Kenji, it never was, it's Darius, right? And in my opinion, this analysis completely invalidates everything the previous seasons have set up, but only this one interpretation of the scene. For starters, Brooklyn didn't go with Kenji because she was quite literally saving his life, not because she didn't love him. In fact, I'd argue she got on that plane because she loves him. Second, and very importantly, I'm actually so glad the show didn't have Kenji run after Brooklyn again in season 3, and it's further evidence in my mind that Kenlynn is still endgame. Let me explain. Kenji believed in Brooklyn at first, but she left him. He doesn't know about how the broker could have killed them if Brooklyn had sided with him. All he saw was Brooklyn getting on that plane, just like his father did at the end of season 5 of Camp Cretaceous, just like Brooklyn didn't explain herself during the breakup when he was giving her a chance to, a choice. And every time, every choice, she didn't choose him. He thinks she is running from him again because she doesn't love him anymore, even though he showed up for her and gave her a way to escape. Like his father, like his mother, like he himself said. Why do the people I care about keep getting, I don't know how much more I can take? It's a trauma response. I am so thankful the show let Kenji be angry. Kenji is shown to be angry a lot, another reason some people don't like him, but it fits his character so well. He too has PTSD from his own father leaving him to die when he was 16 years old. How can he keep chasing Brooklyn if time and time again she's proven by her actions that she doesn't want to be with him, despite her doing it for him but is unable to say so? He only knows what he's seen. He doesn't have the context the audience does. Classic dramatic irony at it again. And perhaps Kenji running after her in season 2 was his attempt to make up for the breakup, for quote, not being there. But with her choosing to go on that plane, he believes she chose not to be with him. He's done trying if it's all for nothing. This was the true breakup at the end of season 2, and this time it was her choice. So he backs down and accepts her quote for who she is. I could also argue that this proves that Kenji still loves Brooklyn. If in his mind Brooklyn really doesn't want to be with him, then the best thing he can do for her to prove he loves her is to let her go. So, Kenji closes himself off and doesn't go after Brooklyn, wanting to go home with Sammy and just forget. He's been through too much. He's reached his breaking point. If you keep poking at the bear and then it turns around and bites you, do you blame the bear for lashing out, or do you blame the person who kept prodding it? Kenji can't go through that pain again, especially in his mind if Brooklyn doesn't even want him, so he gives up. This is a direct parallel to Season 5, when Kenji leaves Brooklyn for his father. Brooklyn breaks down, rightfully so, and thinks Kenji doesn't want her and never did. At first, she's supportive of him, challenging her friends and claiming that Kenji is still on their side. It's just his father's fault that the real Kenji knows her favorite color. But then she sees video proof of Kenji working with his father willingly, and that is when she agrees that he is not on their side anymore. This is just like Kenji seeing proof of Brooklyn choosing to go with the broker. It is all out of context, but their emotions are still so valid. Brooklyn for feeling brokenhearted in Season 5, and Kenji for doing so now in Season 3. If people blame Kenji for what he did in Season 5 and think that Brooklyn deserves better, then shouldn't they in turn blame Brooklyn for what she did in Chaos Theory and think that Kenji deserves better? It's a direct parallel, and I love it. Brooklyn thinks in Season 4 that she was wrong to fall for Kenji, that she was too weak. When Kenji comes back, he has to prove himself to Brooklyn, and then and only then do they get back together. Then and only then does she choose him. I believe this parallel is what Chaos Theory is setting up for us in Season 4. As Ernest, a one-off character, said in a throwaway line, "You're never happy with the good thing you've got right in front of you." This, I believe, sums up Brooklyn's character perfectly and is the arc she ultimately has to learn. And she does learn it in Season 3 because she starts to become a monster herself, using the raptor laser on an innocent journalist and a previous fan of hers. Getting deeper and deeper, especially coming face to face with the assassin hired by the broker to kill Brooklyn, responsible for her losing her arm. The same person, might I add, that killed Kenji's father. She's losing herself, losing her motivation, and that scares her. But there's no one there to help her because she pushed them all away. It's really sad. Darius is the one this time to go after Brooklyn. He reaches her in the climax, mirroring Kenji in Season 2. He tells her to come home. Unknown to him, this time, Brooklyn is not running. As the journalist, Davi, said to her, she was using her friends as an excuse as to why she was getting so involved with the broker. It started out for them, but now she's hurting them by not telling them. And most of all, she's hurting herself. Now, B sees the ends do not justify the means because, like Kenji in Season 5, she had to experience it firsthand and see it with her own eyes. She already pushed away Sammy and Kenji. This hurts her. We can see it when she reunites with the others and realizes they're not there too. And now, the remaining people in her life, Darius, Yaz, and Ben, are standing right there. This is her final chance to keep her chosen family and to save herself in the process. She even admits to them, finally, that she needs their help, that she can't do it alone. And just by asking, Darius, Yaz, and Ben trust Brooklyn and her plan. No questions asked. They follow her despite everything. They're with her. This was something Brooklyn couldn't do in Seasons 1 and 2, ask for help, because she didn't go through her character arc of learning to ask for help yet, or seeing the person she was becoming when she pointed that laser, or realizing up close and personal that she had to make a change, that she wanted her friends rather than needed them, because she is shown to be capable on her own, but she's alone and scared and needs someone to reel her in when she goes too far. Brooklyn can get the job done solo. She's more than capable and is a badass, but her resolution is choosing her friends. She can have both. She wants them in her life, but she can have her career and her family at the same time. Something she hadn't yet learned with Kenji during the breakup. And this time, the friends there at that moment for her to tell this to are Darius, Yaz, and Ben. It's purely circumstantial. And this little callback to their nicknames, Dino Nerd and Superstar, is so emotional, and I love it, every second of it. Darius and Brooklyn are slowly becoming friends again, but in no way do I see this as romantic. B has shown zero romantic interest in Darius so far. No blushing, not even thinking about him unless it's within the group. Like when she burned their photo. After the rejection, she doesn't even stop to think about it. I also just want to add real quick that Brooklyn only stayed with Darius because she found a lead close to his house. She needed a home base. She was using him. What does that say about her stability to be in a relationship right now? She's so invested in her work, in so deep. The reason Kenji broke things off with her, and after they arrest the broker at the end of season 3, together, Brooklyn goes with Darius and the others on the way to Biosyn Valley, where, unknowingly, Sammy and Kenji are waiting. One way or another, the group will be back together again next season. Kenlynn will be together again next season. At the end of season 3, Darius trusts Brooklyn, lets her do things quote-unquote her way. When she asks for help, they automatically follow her lead, no questions asked. Is this what Kenji should have done? Did he hold Brooklyn back in their relationship? Is that why they broke up? After all, Darius understood Brooklyn better than Kenji did, understood who she was, and that she had to be in this deep to stop the broker, and it worked, right? So this time the ends did justify the means, right? They should have just sat back and let Brooklyn keep them in the dark and do the heavy lifting while she executes her master plan. It worked, didn't it? That's okay then. Darius and Brooklyn were always right. Right? Wrong. So wrong. Let me explain. For starters, we still don't even fully know Brooklyn's motivation. If this is just who she is, then she was doing the investigation for fame, as she was shown to do in Camp Cretaceous seasons 1 and 2 and 3 before her arc. If Darius truly believed that, then it would be a backwards regression for Brooklyn, and show that Darius doesn't understand her for who she is now, but rather who she was. When he says, and I quote, "because I know you, superstar," is he validating who she was before her development at the start of Camp Cretaceous, when they first made their nicknames, or who she is now? But who is Brooklyn now? We don't know. We don't know her motives or her desires, which is what season 4 will likely tell us. If Dinostar is canon, then Brooklyn is still the same person she was at the start of Camp Cretaceous, which is not only reverse character development, but harmful messaging and confusing for the audience, especially younger kids watching. This is not a soap opera. Putting Darius and Brooklyn together would validate that Brooklyn is just the way she is, and that Kenji, quote, wanted her to become someone she's not, and that she did nothing wrong in keeping her friends in the dark. It would validate that Darius was right in saying, quote, "if he loved you half as much as I did," and that Darius did in fact love her more, because he understood her better, that it was okay for Brooklyn to go behind her friends' back and not tell them what she was really doing, that it was okay for Brooklyn to fake her death because she always had a plan, that Kenji simply couldn't accept Brooklyn for who she was, well, Darius can, proving Kenji never loved her and that Darius understands her better than anyone, that B is perfect and doesn't have to change or apologize, that Kenji has to apologize for not, quote, letting her be herself and expecting her to be, as Brooklyn puts it, someone she's not. And that someone she's not was Kenji wanting her to go on a hike with him. Could Darius and Brooklyn really go on a hike together? Really go on a picnic? Really be cute and cuddly and kiss? Well, these were all the things Brooklyn very clearly did not prioritize in her relationship with Kenji. Would it suddenly be acceptable for her to want to do these things with Darius after faking her death, instead of wanting to try and again with the person she hurt the most? How twisted would that really be? Could Dinostar truly work if everything their fans want them to be is everything Brooklyn didn't want with Kenji? What a slap in the face. This would also show that Brooklyn didn't learn anything. This would show that she could have her cake and eat it too, as the expression goes. That it was perfectly acceptable for her to forsake her friends and break their hearts in the first place, because she just got a new partner in the end because of it. Her ex's brother. That the consequence of Kenji not trusting Brooklyn, despite her indirectly giving him every reason not to trust her, is losing the love of his life. And what's even worse is that Brooklyn and Kenji were actually shown to be very happy together. We see a little video of them on a picnic, clearly happy and using pet names. Kenji even picked Brooklyn's favorite colored flowers, yellow, as shown in Camp Cretaceous. And their hike, although cut short by the breakup, was shown to be enjoyable for the both of them. Brooklyn was having fun, and she actually wanted to go, but was distracted by the text from Kenji's father. They have a picture laughing together. They make each other laugh and smile during the Zoom with the camp fam. They kiss. Brooklyn cries after the breakup. Why show these things? Why show them being genuinely happy together if it was all going to be forgotten? I also want to add that at the end of Camp Cretaceous with the time skip, during the first Zoom we see the camp fam have, Kenji and Brooklyn are still dating and very happy together 1 year off the island. Brooklyn is even doing an investigation, as she often does, but this time she's keeping everyone in the loop. She tells them information about it during the Zoom and tells them she'll keep them updated after she gets all the facts. Then she says to Kenji, "I'll call you tonight." This perfectly shows what Kenlynn should be, what they were, and what they can be again. Brooklyn is on her own doing an investigation. She doesn't tell them everything, but she keeps them in the loop well enough so they're not concerned or worried, and so she's not putting them in danger. Kenji and Brooklyn are going to call later that night. She can have her cake and eat it too in this instance, and she did, and it worked perfectly. Look at how sheepish they are. It's so freaking cute. They can be like this again. What changed? We still don't know how Brooklyn found the first tip about the broker, how she got deep into this investigation in the first place, when and how Kenji and Brooklyn began to drift apart when it was shown that they were able to live like this. Would Brooklyn work in and then be in there for Kenji that night for their date night? They can be like that again. If it worked once, it can work again. Anyway, tangent aside, Dinostar Endgame would say that after everything that happened in Camp Cretaceous, after dating for 7 years, that maybe Kenji wasn't the right person for Brooklyn after all. This is bluntly ignoring how Brooklyn messed up big time. She faked her death, let her friends believe she had died. That's not something to easily get over. She lied to them and traumatized them. Of course she was traumatized and hurt herself. Of course she needed help of her own, and both Darius and Kenji were not there for her when she needed them most. Of course she's hurting in ways they could never understand because of her arm. Two things can be true at once. She messed up, and now is the time for Brooklyn to make up for it, just like Kenji did in Season 5. Having Brooklyn's lesson be that she was perfectly fine the way she was, and that Darius is her reward for her actions, would simply be insulting. It would also insult the fans' intelligence. Not to mention that Darius and Kenji are brothers. If they had to make Dinostar canon, they didn't have to make the breakup happen because Brooklyn was distant and neglectful, only for her to turn around and date her ex's brother, after learning not to be distant and neglectful. Where would Kenji fit into all of this? How devastating would that be for him? Kenji already made up for the breakup. He was there for her at the end of Season 2, but in his eyes, she rejected him again. Putting her with Darius would be a slap in the face to all of Kenji's pain and trauma. Of course, Brooklyn is allowed to care about her work. She's allowed to be who she is. She isn't tied down by Kenji. She can care about her work at the same time, which is a lesson she learned by the end of Season 3, which is who she was in the epilogue of Camp Cretaceous. Brooklyn is ready to make it up to her friends now. She's grown as a person and is heading towards Kenji right now in the helicopter. All the pieces are in place. As I said, some people argue that Brooklyn never loved Kenji in Camp Cretaceous because we never saw a definite moment that proved she had fallen for him. Well, Chaos Theory is coming around to fix those mistakes. And it's not the mistake of making Kenlynn canon. It's the mistake of letting people believe they shouldn't be. Season 4, like in Camp Cretaceous, will be their season. Some fans might also say that Kenji gave up on Brooklyn. He doesn't love her anymore, and he told Darius to go after her. But this is in no way Kenji telling Darius to be with Brooklyn. This scene is about Darius and Kenji fully reconnecting. That Darius was reluctant to go after Brooklyn because he didn't want to lose Kenji again. He says this, and he asks for Kenji's blessing to go after Brooklyn, not to date her, but simply asking Kenji for his promise that he won't lose him if he chooses Brooklyn over helping his brother. This scene is not Darius getting Kenji's blessing to date his ex. It's the conclusion of their show-long arc that they are in fact, despite everything, still and always will be brothers. It is their moment, not a Kenlynn moment, not a Dinostar moment, but a sibling moment, and nothing more. And I love every second of it. Since Season 1 of Chaos Theory, I've been waiting for Darius to call Kenji his brother in return, and now he finally did. This is one of my favorite scenes of the entire show. Now, some other people may also point out to the scene where Sammy calls Brooklyn, and Kenji says this, Working, huh? That's new. He doesn't respect Brooklyn or her work, right? Wrong again. This is the only direct interaction Kenlynn has in Season 3, but it is so important. Season 3 shows Darius validating Brooklyn the way she is, which is heartwarming, but this purposeful, singular Kenlynn interaction highlights how Brooklyn needs to change. Every time she put her work above Kenji, and the one time they talk in Season 3, she's doing the same thing, only further confirming Kenji's decision to cut her off. However, Brooklyn was in a dire situation when Sammy called her. She couldn't talk to them in that moment for the risk of being exposed. It was just bad timing. Once again, like when she got on that plane, she was doing it for them. But how would Kenji know that if she didn't or couldn't explain herself? Welcome back to our lovely friend, Dramatic Irony. The communication barrier is back, but next season, it will be brought down. Next season is time for Brooklyn to explain herself, for Kenji to hear her side, and I cannot wait to see it. I also want to add real quick that in the beginning of Season 3 of Chaos Theory, Brooklyn wants to call her friends, but then she remembers that she left them. She burned the photo. She blocked their contacts. She went on that plane. Perhaps she thinks she doesn't deserve them in this moment, but then finally she admits to Darius that she needs help. She can't do this on her own anymore. She wants them with her, and the fact that they're there is enough. She was too nervous to be the one to reach out to call. She films a video talking to them, but she deletes it and sends something else instead. She doesn't want to show them how much she needs them, how much she is missing them, because once again, in her mind, she needs to do this on her own to prove to Kenji that the breakup meant something. Poor Brooklyn. Anyway, I can't even imagine how Darius could get together with his brother's ex, especially after seeing firsthand how hurt Kenji was by her. This would be so disrespectful and insulting to not only Kenji, but all the new Bar 6, especially Sammy. They're all hurting. Season 4 will be the season of apologies. Sammy and Yaz, Sammy and Brooklyn, Kenji and Brooklyn, and Darius and Brooklyn. They still have to talk about that night, about Darius not being there and how Brooklyn felt about all of it. If Darius really wants to make up for everything, I believe his character arc in Season 4 will be him helping B and Kenji get back together. Brooklyn finished her mission, the thing that sparked all of this in the first place. She proved that the breakup, losing her arm, wasn't for nothing, because they did stop the broker. With that out of the way, she can now focus on mending her mistakes, and her relationships. With Kenji and with Sammy, it is on her to do so, like Kenji in Season 5, and I believe Darius will help her every step of the way. Darius will be selfless. He will put his brother above himself, something he couldn't do in Chaos Theory Season 1. I predict once Darius and Brooklyn talk early on in Season 4, they'll become friends again and reconcile over Darius not being there. Brooklyn can finally focus on her own feelings and what Kenji really means to her, something we didn't get to see her do much in Camp Cretaceous. Maybe Yaz will be her wingman again. One way or another, Kenji and Brooklyn will be forced to talk. The writers saved it for Season 4 for a reason. This proves to me that Kenlynn's conclusion comes above Dinostar's. Brooklyn and Darius will talk about that night probably in Season 4, Episode 1. With that out of the way, it will be Kenlynn's time to shine all season long. And if Kenji and Brooklyn talk and patch things up and both end up single, that is something I can possibly live with. Perhaps their endgame is being single. Have they hurt each other just too much to ever work? Well, this is not my preferred choice. It is still vastly superior to Dinostar in every way. Still, I don't believe that that would be their happy ending. I don't believe it would be satisfying, because, once again, that would beg the question, what was this all for? Why did they get together in Camp Cretaceous? Why had this show gone out of its way time and time again to show them being happy together if it would be rendered meaningless? Dinostar had its chance in Camp Cretaceous, but it didn't happen. There is no way for it to happen now without invalidating Camp Cretaceous and everything Chaos Theory has set up. If Darius and Brooklyn get together, it would prove that Brooklyn was 100% right in the breakup, and that Kenji was wrong, and that he should have been more supportive of Brooklyn, even though she was the one keeping him in the dark. It would teach kids that it's okay to date your brother's ex after she hurt him so badly he gave up hope. It would say that after 7 years of a committed, happy relationship, you can just move on without admitting your own faults. Yes, people fall in and out of love, but this would be such a stab to the heart for Kenlynn fans, and render their entire relationship and storyline utterly meaningless. It is also valid to say that Brooklyn has a lot of making up to do with Kenji. She pretended to be dead. Does she even deserve him anymore? Yes, she does. She forgave him. He can forgive her now. One way or another, Kenji and Brooklyn will get back together next season. And if Kenji steps aside for Darius and Brooklyn to get together, I ask again, what was it all for? What was the breakup for? What was faking her death for if it wasn't to prove to Kenji that she really was doing something important? She just couldn't tell him in that moment. She did it all for him, right? This promotional image of season 2, a letter Brooklyn was writing for Kenji and Kenji only, solidifies that for me. To recap, I wouldn't have the biggest problem with Dinostar if Darius and Kenji weren't brothers, and if Brooklyn didn't have a lot left to learn and apologize for. Darius is not her prize for beating the broker. The prize was getting her friends back, and Brooklyn finally being successful to show Kenji it wasn't all for nothing, to finally open up to him because she couldn't do it in the past that caused the breakup. To finally show him that she does still love him, and she did it all for him and the others, and that she's sorry it went so far. And it's time for Kenji to talk to her about his own feelings, about what her death did to him, about losing his dad, about his trauma with people leaving him, and for Brooklyn to say she's not going anywhere this time, and for them to be badass and fight dinosaurs together and slowly but surely make up. It's time for communication. It's time for closure. And it's time for Darius to be selfless. It's time for Darius to realize it's not about him, to step aside and to help Kenlynn become canon again. Darius didn't see both sides of the breakup when Brooklyn came and stayed with him. He was being selfish, throwing himself at Brooklyn right after she just broke up with her ex, his brother, a rebound. He put himself first in that moment, disregarding Kenji's feelings without even hearing his side of the story. Now it's time for Darius and Brooklyn to make it up to Kenji. But why is Kenji the focal point of all of this when all of them are hurting? Why must Darius be selfless and Kenji be selfish? And that is because the show has made Kenji the focal point of all of this. They made season 2 be his season, jumping off boats, fighting hippos and dinosaurs, running into fire, throwing himself in danger because of his PTSD. We see Kenji being selfless all season long, and he literally compares Brooklyn to his dad in season 3. This is not just him making stuff up. This is real trauma as shown throughout his arc in both shows. And Kenji was the one to run to Brooklyn in season 2. He was the one to get rejected time and time again. He may have initiated the breakup, but he gave Brooklyn a choice to be with him and she refused. Again. She got on that plane and he just watched, accepting her choice but internally breaking in the process. Kenji has always acted on his emotions, but his character in Chaos Theory was shown to be selfless, thinking of others, especially when it comes to Smoothie, Bumpy's baby, and completely disregarding his own safety. Now it's his turn to get what he wants, and for Darius to step aside. If Dinostar becomes canon before Brooklyn sees Kenji again, it would be the final nail in the coffin for me. If they become canon after, even with Kenji's blessing, it would validate Brooklyn's bad decisions and tell us that both Brooklyn and Darius didn't have any character arcs at all, that they both just stayed the same person they were in season 1, and not only that, reverted to who they were in Camp Cretaceous, that the reward for them hurting Kenji, for hurting their friends, was to get together as accomplices. What kind of a message would that be for kids, for anyone? Because at the end of the day, this is a show targeted for children. Putting Darius with his brother's ex would be a very harmful message for kids to see. I believe the love triangle was solely invented to show us how Dinostar could not work, to please Dinostar fans while at the same time showing us all how it was never meant to be. That Brooklyn and Kenji had to break up for Darius to confess to Brooklyn, because what would it demonstrate if Kenji and Brooklyn were still dating and Darius liked Brooklyn? They made a point for Darius to say that he only fell in love with Brooklyn after the breakup. This I can get behind. This makes the love triangle bearable. Darius and shippers learned a lesson here. And it is still okay to ship Dinostar. That is perfectly valid and I support it and even see the appeal. But to disregard how much it would mess up canon and ruin character dynamics is something I cannot get behind. It could have happened, I wholeheartedly agree. But it didn't. And doing so now would just be fan service done wrong. Doing it for the sake of pleasing people who were upset with the canon, only to utterly destroy the canon they did create, is shameful. If Kenji and Brooklyn end up single but friends, I can at least stomach that. but with everything I just outlined, Dinostar would ruin the show and prove there are rewards for actions that cause great harm to others, and that messy people don't have to learn a lesson if they can just get new love out of it. And my question would be, what would Kenji's happy ending be? Not everyone has to end up together. In fact, I believe Darius will end up single because he, as said from his own mouth at the end of season 1, never even loved Brooklyn in the first place. But to make Kenji be single would be such a sad ending for his character. Everyone in his life left him. Him being by himself at the end would be deeply unsatisfying, just as giving him another girlfriend would be wrong. As I said, Kenji has been selfless. Let him be selfish now. Darius has been selfish. Now is the time for him to be selfless. The only logical way I can see Dinostar ever happening is if Kenji were to die, but once again, that would be a shamefully tragic ending to an already tragic character. Kenji, in my personal interpretation, wanted to die in season 2, but with Smoothie, he finally found the will to live again, something to keep him going, something he could be a better father figure to than his terrible dad ever was to him. Perhaps that's why he fought so hard to save Smoothie in season 2 and risked his own life to make sure Smoothie was safe. He wasn't going to let this one good thing in his life go. He was going to prove that he was going to be there. Why weren't you there? This time he was, even for the birth. Kenji learned to live, so killing him would, once again, go against his arc and entire character. There is simply only one option for Kenji: Kenlynn. But that begs the question, what is Brooklyn's happy ending? Does she even love Kenji? Did she ever? Does she love anyone? Is her own true love her work? Why would she be tied down by a man if they're holding her back? And to that I say, we don't know what Brooklyn wants. We don't have a definite moment she fell for Kenji, and she never gave Darius an answer as to if she liked him back or not. But, as I said, season 4 will see Brooklyn free of her mission, away from her work, and finally able to focus on her love life. She will make those decisions. She will fight for her wants and her love. She will be confident in who she is, in her disability, and finally be able to find herself again, to learn and grow. And it's not just her. Everyone in this show has made mistakes. Everyone has learned a lesson. As for Brooklyn, I believe all signs of her happy ending point to Kenji. She never stopped loving him, as shown by how sad she was after the breakup and the promotional letter. She was just so consumed by work she didn't have time for much else. Now that she does, she will focus all her attention on winning back her man, her happy ending, as chosen by her, if she's willing to fight for it. And this time, she is. With Darius having her back every step of the way. Season 4 will be Brooklyn's season, and I couldn't be more excited. So what is Darius' happy ending? Well, it's simply getting his friend back, getting his brother back. He's already got it, removing his guilt and making things right for everyone. He's putting others above himself, as our Dinonord so often did in Camp Cretaceous. Look at season 4, episode 6, for example. This is who Darius is. Putting him and Brooklyn together would betray his established character. His character arc is not him getting the girl. It's him realizing the girl is not his happy ending after all. It's his family, and he's okay with that. What if Darius falling for Brooklyn was really an allegory of the audience expecting the main male and female characters to end up together? What if Darius fell into that mindset too, in some type of meta commentary? Now that would be a powerful message for kids, and for anyone watching. And I want to see Darius fight for Kenlynn. I want to see him be their biggest shipper like he was in Camp Cretaceous. So, in conclusion, and in my humble opinion, Kenlynn is the only logical outcome to make Chaos Theory's controversial love triangle mean something. It gave Darius the motivation to be selfless, and it gave Kenji and Brooklyn their own perspectives and journeys to ultimately find each other again. It gave Darius and Kenji the closure to become closer than ever as siblings. It made Kenlynn even more interesting and tragic, giving us a reason to root for them, not against them. It was the writer's way of showing the audience that they were right in pairing Kenlynn up in Camp Cretaceous, and that it will work out even now in Chaos Theory, stronger and better than ever, and that Darius and Brooklyn were never meant to be, but are still good friends and can and should remain as such. It gave Brooklyn an arc. Let Kenji grieve, and firmly place Darius at the forefront of the narrative, as he should be as the main protagonist. It showed all three of the characters' faults, perspectives, and let them all, and the viewers, learn valuable lessons. All of this, I believe, and I am cautiously optimistic for the outcome. just as would Yasami's inevitable reunion. The writers have never once let me down, and I hope that doesn't change with Chaos Theory Season 4. It will either be my favorite season or least favorite season. I can only watch and wait quite eagerly for the outcome. And now, I present to you my own script and storyboard on how I think the Kenlynn reunion will go. Please enjoy.
Alright then, what's so important that...
Kenji, wait. Can you just look at me? I need to explain.
Yeah, you do.
So will you stop? You're treating me like I'm dead.
Yeah? And whose fault is that?
I had no choice. They were hunting me. Hunting you.
So instead of face it together, you ran away?
I'm here now, aren't I?
It's too late. I'll never forgive you.
I forgave you.
Yeah, and I was 15. 15, Brooklyn.
And I was 13. And I still forgave you.
Doesn't matter. Nothing matters anymore.
You matter to me.
You were always a good liar, B. You can't fool me anymore. I'm done with that, okay? Just leave me alone.
I'm not lying.
I thought you were dead. I thought you were dead. Just like Mom, my dad, they're all gone.
I'm so sorry, Kenji. I'll make it up to you. No matter how long it takes.
We'll see.